This is Billy D. Williams. IT in the D. It works every time.
Welcome back. Thank you once again for hanging out with us. This is the one and only IT in the D show. I'm your host, Bob Waltenspiel, hanging out with co-host, producer extraordinaire, Randy Walker. Guest this week. I've been dying to do this episode. By the way, this is our 12th anniversary. We did this show, very first episode, 2013. It's been 12 years.
Before my time on the show.
A little bit before your time. But guest this week, Brad Mitchell's in the house. He's with Hollywood Casino, Greektown. And as soon as I met him, I'm like, oh my God, I got to get you on the podcast. I want to talk all things casino IT. I've never pulled the covers back, looked at Oz, Beyond Oz's curtain, and I'm been dying. I've been looking forward to this ever since I talked to you. So we're going to have Brad here talking all things casino IT. Not too much, just enough. But you can find us online, itinthed.com. Do us a favor. Give us a like on the socials and subscribe to us everywhere fine podcasts are sold.
Our meetup is June 19th, 5 o'clock at Detroit Shipping Company. We hope to see you there.
We'll be downstairs by the world's smallest dive bar.
Oh, yeah. Well, they'll be nice.
Out in the patio, if the weather permitting. No speakers, no cover, just a bunch of IT folks hanging out and doing their thing. But looking forward to being back at Detroit Shipping. Brad, how you doing? Good to see you.
I'm doing great. You know, I felt honored to be another Brad Mitchell that you know.
I was going to say, not to be confused with Brad from episode 502.
No. That, yeah. No, this is Casino. I don't know. How do we delineate you? Casino
Brad is okay.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Speaking of, so I'm going to dive right in. I told you I had 10,000 questions. Usually is conversational, but I have more questions than I think. I'm going to be like this ridiculous 5-year-old going, tell me about why. But the only time we really get to see behind the scenes at a casino is like movies like Casino.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only time we get to see, or like Ocean's 11, and being in IT my whole career. And then all of a sudden you start thinking about, oh my God, what goes into these properties? You know, obviously you're part of a 43 property company. There's probably more IT than we could sit here for probably 6 hours if we really wanted to get into it. But like the fact that everything, like I don't even know where to start.
Well, here's an easy way that I can start it. And this is usually when I'm interviewing a new like level 1 help desk technician.
Okay.
I always say, let's say you're coming into the casino for the first time. What do you see? What do you think you're going to be working on? So let's pretend that I was interviewing you right now.
Yeah.
So if you were interviewing for a level 1 help desk job and I say, you're coming into the casino today, what do you think you would be working on? So what do you see when you come into the casino with that IT mindset?
Yeah. So all the slots are hardwired with Ethernet. All the cameras go into some sort of a storage facility. There's a room with all the TV screens for security. There's wireless connectivity, so all the guests have a flawless experience.
Points of sale at the bars and restaurants.
Points of sale.
Exactly. And computers everywhere.
Computers everywhere.
Yeah, that's usually where I like to start, and you hit the nail on the head. Is it starts with computers,
right? All
of our frontline team members need a computer to do their day-to-day operations, but then you also see, like you mentioned, the POS registers. All of those have computers in them, and all of those are interconnected and tie into application servers or databases or whatnot. But that's just one facet of it. You can also look at that layer where you mentioned the networking. All of the slot machines are interconnected via IP based, and they're all tying into switches across the entire gaming floor. You know, if you're walking onto the gaming floor and you see what we call a bank, so you see about like 4 or 5 slot machines in a circle, that would be one network switch.
Okay.
So we have hundreds of network switches all across the gaming floor that go to various IDFs across the gaming floor. And then all of those tie into a couple MDFs that we have across the property. So that's again where I like to start. Is it starts with a computer, but then it really goes very deep into that first layer physical devices. But then you have that whole backend layer of things tie into application servers, like I said,
right,
or SQL servers. There's endless day-to-day things that my team troubleshoots.
So I'm going to get into the security thing. That'll be last. But like, I'm just thinking like, okay, I'm in a consultant mindset, and now I'm looking at like hybrid IT, right? I'm a hybrid IT purist. And are there applications that sit local? Are you leveraging the cloud? I guess security ties into that too.
Sure.
So like you probably have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applications.
Oh yeah.
And like, are they in the cloud? Are you putting them like, I guess let's start. How big is the data center? Because you were talking about like you had to move 400 servers at one point. Like, is there an on-site data center at the casino, or is it off-site, or
the majority of it is off-site? I mean, tying into the beginning,
like at a Switch colo type of place,
right? And again, it kind of depends how big the property is. Again, yes, we are one of 43 properties. Some of them are just tiny little riverboats.
Sure.
Some of them, like us, we're kind of like a class 1 casino where we are very big. We have a hotel. We have the gaming floor, so it is very, very big.
Well, like, so the whole thing, we talked about with David Wan, like the user experience, that's everything. It's flawless. Like the old joke on the show was the day Netflix came out to a streaming platform, you got one glitch and everybody's throwing their arms up going, oh, this is bullshit. Mm-hmm. Right. And, because they were used to the DVDs and the flawless experience.
What the hell is buffering?
Well, exactly. Buffering. I'm canceling. Calling. But like when a customer walks in, they want Wi-Fi. They want their POS systems to be flawless transactions. If they're going to literally anything, because it's all tech driven, like it needs to be 100% pure flawless experience. You guys have is there like a UX or CX person that's like their job to make sure like I want to get into the staff. There's so much. I got so many questions.
Well, the easiest way that I can answer it is like use our property as an example. My team, including myself, is just 11 people. Back when it was, yeah. And when we were talking earlier, when it used to be owned by Jack,
yeah,
that casino, Greektown Casino, was their headquarters. This was before I was there, but they had around 100 people. They had developers, they had QA, they had on-site database, they had website people, they had everything. The model, and again, yes, we're owned by Penn Entertainment. The Penn model for on-site technicians are mainly think of it as level 1 up to level 3 or maybe 4 technicians. Sure. You have your frontline team members, your level 1 technicians that are just break fix. They're help desk, they're answering the calls and they're putting out the fires. Okay. Then they may escalate up to somebody that does that and works on projects and looks at applications. They may do some vendor management if we have to do application upgrades, if they have to do database maintenance. And then they might go to the next level, which is your server technicians and looking at all of our virtual machines, looking at all of our databases. And kind of like you were talking about earlier, if there was one main server that went down, that may take down all of our cash registers, or it may take down all of our computers that run the table games ratings or whatnot. So I'll have team members that focus on that layer of day-to-day support. When it gets into that, CX type of level, the majority of that is at the corporate layer. So we're trying to not only keep the lights on, but we're also trying to think of how can we make that guest experience better with upgrading our amenities and our different things that the guest sees, like you were talking about earlier, of what do you see when you walk into a casino? I want my team to say, not only can you keep what we have working, but how can you make that better?
So casino IT versus hotel IT versus like Ford. I'm just using a corporation in town.
Sure.
In terms of like data, storage, IP, are you guys on the same level as like a big company? Are you dwarfing them in terms of your capacity and needs? Like what, like the demand, the requirements for, I could see like just the Cat 5 wiring alone for the slot floor.
Oh, absolutely.
Got to be ridiculous.
Absolutely. Well, coming back to storage, when I got there, everything was still physical. And our model coming from corporate is you need to virtualize all of this and getting it into the cloud.
Okay.
So have you heard of Pure Storage?
Yeah, of course.
Yes. So we migrated to a Pure Storage solution at every single one of the properties.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure all of them are done now. We are. So it was, okay, let's take all of your physical and then let's connect that into Pure Storage and then also connect that into Rubrik. From all of the different conferences that I've been to, having those two at the same time are the perfect brother-sister combo of having your data stored and then having your data backed up. So that was one of my many first projects. And again, I came back to, we we migrated from a Jack property to a Penn Entertainment property from that company, we had to take everything that they installed there as their world headquarters and had to downsize it to, we're one of 43 properties. We don't need all this extra tech debt that's out here.
Sure.
We need to upgrade what we have and then tie it into the cloud if we can. So a lot of those local applications, like I'll use for an example, the POSs that we have across the property. I don't even know how many we have, probably well over 100. All of those POSs now tie into a application server that's in the cloud through Oracle. Okay. So all of that is in the cloud. That is for our entire enterprise.
Okay.
So my team doesn't just have a box in the data center that is the POS server, right?
Right.
So that is what the majority of our applications have either migrated to or are migrating to, where then we have so much, we have so much less in our data center that we have to even worry about.
So just like now I'm going bandwidth.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be no continuity of this. We're going all across the board at once.
Sure.
But like in terms of bandwidth, like you're bringing in probably more bandwidth than I would assume like probably a major data center.
Right. And I mean, we are relying a lot on our corporate bandwidth for that, but then we also have our own local circuits that can handle like our internet traffic or our property traffic or what have you at the property level. So we have multiple circuits that can handle that. But then for everything else, we rely on corporate for that.
Okay. So now like not getting into like the compliance and regulations and
you can imagine there's a lot.
Well, like I'm just thinking like video, like when you're talking storage, I can't like, do you need to hold it for a certain amount of days?
Mm-hmm.
Is that then you put it into cold storage after that's been like
the easiest way I can explain it is the Gaming Commission, MGCB. Okay.
Yeah.
The gaming board considers anything that is financial gaming data has to be kept for 7 years, no matter what.
Oh my God.
So kind of then going back in the story a little bit to when we had to migrate all of those old either 2012 servers or all the old file servers and everything, we not only had to figure out, well, how can we migrate this to something that is supportable, but also how can we still get into it? Because even if we have to turn this off so it's decommed,
right,
I still need to be able to get to it. I still maybe need to turn it back on if we
Sure.
have an audit. So all of that data has to be stored for 7 years. And as you can imagine, even if finance has a Word document, they may still consider that gaming data and we have to keep it. So that goes whether it is something that is from a old file server or something that was from a old point of sale server, all of that data has to be kept.
What else is considered gaming data? Is it like a record of every time I push a button on a slot machine or?
So here's the easiest way that I can explain it. So, again, we'll kind of get into it, but my background before Penn was with MGM. I was with them for about 15 years. No matter what company that you do your IT for, whether it's MGM, Caesars, Penn, what have you, they all tie into some sort of gaming system, whether that is a physical on-prem system that's more like IBM green screen driven, or it is server-based, right? So all of that data that ties into what that slot player is doing is all of that data. Think of it as every time that I go to a slot machine and I put in $100, that is a record. And then I put my player's card into the machine and it says Brad Mitchell. That is a record of a card in, right? A card in session. And then I bet, 10 lines at 10 cents, whatnot, and I hit spin, that is a record. Whether I win, whether I don't win, all of that is a gaming record of that transaction. Let's say that I lose all that money, or I win money, or I hit a jackpot. All of those tie into different records that all get audited. So that's just one example of something that would have to be retained for potential audits.
Does it even include like what the result of the spin are or things like that?
Oh, absolutely. All of that would be within that gaming system. Think of it as we could even go as deep into if I won a jackpot and then I needed to audit it however long later, I could go back into that record and I could see all that information.
So I'm going to go out on a limb here. You're going to laugh at me, but is this the hardest job in IT? Because I'm thinking in my head right now, all the boxes you need to check in terms of security, I think we talked about this before the show. Like everyone that's in that place, you got to kind of treat as a customer and a deviant. You know, they're looking to rob me. You have a hospitality side to it. You have a operation side to it. There's a storage side, a massive storage side to it. You know, you have intellectual property you need to protect. You have, you know, financial data for customers you need to protect. It checks like this is it more? Am I just reading this wrong? Or it seems to me like it's more in depth than any industry that I've ever
absolutely is. It's kind of funny. So the IT group that we're in, when I started going to these meetings, which actually was maybe only about a year ago, and I would start to come to some of these little round tables and networking, kind of like when I met you. And it's all like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I work for this. I work for that. I try to not get too far into the weeds.
Yeah.
But, you know, people are just like, wow, you really see it all. And it's true. And now I've been doing this, you know, 15, almost 20 years. Every day is different. Like I said before, it's not just keep the lights on, get Sally's ticket for her computer that's running slow. That's part of the day. But then it's also, I need to make sure that the experience for the guests is always running. And if anything stops, I have to drop everything and make sure that I can fix it. So it's putting out those type of fires. But then it's the other part of the day-to-day of making sure that all of the storage is working and making sure all the application servers are working. And then, oh, it is now my new quarterly SOX audit, and I have to go through all of my information and do attestations. Like, there is so much that is, you know, thrown at me, but it also makes it so exciting. Like, there's not a day that I don't love what I do and it's not boring.
I was going to say never the same day.
No. And I always, again, try to come back to the story of when I'm interviewing people, because you can always kind of tell if somebody is truly going to be a good fit, even at just like a level 1 technician, is you will never see the same thing twice. You're always going to have that day-to-day stuff that you have to do, but it will truly be different every single day. So as I've been doing it, from starting off as just a level 1 technician up to where I am now as a property director, I get to have experiences with everything. So I always tell people when I'm interviewing them, you know, this job will open as many doors as you allow it to. As curious as you want to get, you're going to be open to every side of the business. Whether you just want to come in day to day and just knock out tickets, that's fine. We need people like that. But if you want to go on the gaming floor and just see how this operation runs every single day, have at it, and I'm going to show it to you. And I got that opportunity over the years.
So I used to sell beer in college, and the dumbest thing ever was, you know, hey buddy, why don't you go bring it in my truck, or put, you know, if I had a keg of beer or something.
Right.
I can't imagine when you tell people what you do, the first thing they ask you is like, duh, let me hack in the slot machines.
Oh yeah.
Like, is that every day?
Every day. Or people are just like, oh, how do you know which slot machine is going to win? Or, I lost my $100 last time I went there. You know, how do I win next time? You know, yeah, those questions that come, but you know, it's also just a great opportunity to tell people what I do. It's like I said, it's cool being able to use the type of skills that I've learned over the years of just break fix, but then I also get to just see the operation from more of a leader perspective of just how can I make this experience better for our guests?
Sure.
How can I upgrade this product so it makes ourselves maybe a leg up from our competition? You know, it's always interesting in this market. We got 3 casinos that are within a mile of each other.
Yeah.
So, you know, I always joke and say that, yeah, we're at the, you know, 3rd best casino in downtown Detroit out of 3. But at the same time, we have to always try to be competing against each other over that walk-in guest. So it's just, again, it's really cool being in this line of work where it's not just the same boring smashing the keys every single day. It's whatever I want to get out of it that I can get out of it.
So how far are you guys pushing like technology in the machine learning world, predictive analytics, AI? I can't think of any good use cases. Maybe you could enlighten me, but like, you know, facial recognition, you know, all the things. Cause when we started talking about like security and like that person coming in and hacking, like, you know, and then predictive analytics, like, oh, here comes Bob. He just sits at the bar and he doesn't gamble.
Right.
Or here comes Randy, and Randy throws 10 grand on poker every Friday, make sure he gets the king's treatment.
Right.
Like, is it going that far?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, again, since it's kind of funny going back to some of these conferences that I've been going to in our IT group. As soon as I go to that AI table and they see what I do, they just start drooling because they're like, "Oh my God, I bet you would love to have AI in what you do." And I've never been into the gaming space, and it's just like, all right, slow your roll a little.
So, what is the use case though for AI? Like, because I brought it up, but then I couldn't nothing.
So easiest way that I can explain it is the casinos. One of the casinos' main purpose is to learn as much as they can about the guest, not just for our own benefit, but also for the guest benefit.
Sure.
It's, you were talking about how does the casino know that you're the high roller versus just a walking guest that just wants a beer before the Lions game, right?
Yeah.
When you are doing that session, what we call, or like a trip, you come in and you have a card. As long as you have that card, we're at least going to be gaining that knowledge and looking at your betting patterns and looking at maybe the different type of games that you play, or maybe you only come once a month and then you just stay at the hotel. So we'll be, as long as there are transactions being made and it's tied to a player profile or your player card, we're at least able to look at that trip and then see how can we make your next trip a little bit better than your last one. Or maybe you just want to do the same thing every time. I'm just the type of person that comes in every single day, what we call like our grinders. They come in and they just want to play a nickel slot machine,
right,
and then get some carry out. Well, then maybe we'll offer them a little bit extra for a carry out offer, or we'll tie in that marketing to that person. So I know it's a little bit of an easy answer for AI, but we'll look at our CMS and then say, okay, we use Salesforce in order to look at all of our data in a very pretty way, and to say, okay, I would like a report that can show me all of the information on this criteria. And then that can give us that player information. So then I can say, okay, maybe I can create a marketing event for this type of player, or maybe I can create an offer that will be, a little more acceptable to this type of player so that they can come back.
Sure.
That's a little bit of the AI. Going a little too far deeper, we really haven't gone into that, just because, again, we're so regulated, so we have to be careful with what we do.
What I was figuring. But like, even looking at like location proximity trackers, like I always think a casino, and he's saying, well, why are those slots back there? Put them in the front because those are more profitable, right? So like the floor planning has to be a never ending, I don't want to call it a battle or struggle, but like a never ending how to optimize floor space.
Oh, absolutely.
For the best,
my team kind of jokes about it, but it seems like every single day we have a new help desk ticket for a slot for a slot move or a table move. We actually had one today where it was, hey,
how is that call made? I'm just curious.
Oh, I mean, we try and say, give us 2 weeks because, okay, what does the network look like?
Yeah.
And then the table games team may just be like, well, this blackjack table that the analytics on it are saying that it's been a little soft lately. We're going to maybe, switch this one out, or we don't have this type of game and we would like to get this type of game. Let's switch this out, like a different variant of a blackjack game, or a different variant of a poker game or what have you. Or, oh, we would like to now offer this type of progressive. Like if you go to a blackjack table, it could just be a table that just has a single bet and you're, playing to 21.
Yeah.
Or you might have, 50 side bets. We have a whole bunch of different flavors of games. So then we try and change those out based on of how the activity is in that space. Same thing for slot machines. Not only are you trying to put the right product in front of the right person, but you're also trying to have the right product there.
Right,
you could get a new themed game and that game is not getting any play. Well, if I just leased it, then I'm just going to give it back and maybe get a different one. Or if it is a old style game that, everybody likes to play because we've had it for, 20 years or whatnot, we're still going to have those, but maybe we might move them around so then we can get some of the newer product out there. Because again, coming back to us being one of 3 properties in downtown Detroit, we always want to have the best, the newest, the most immersive experience for like hitting a bonus or the type of different sounds that come out of the slot machine. We want to make it more interactive for the guests. So coming back to what you were saying, we move around stuff all the time.
But is that call made by a pit boss, or is that made by like an actual person. I would think it's it's a science.
Right. It's definitely not an IT thing.
Right.
We have a table games department, we have a slots department, and then they have their own analytical team where they're looking at, maybe the betting patterns of a particular game, or the win of a particular game, or the loss of a particular game, or just we have way too many of this type of game here. Let's change it up.
But even like in a grocery store, when they used to use cell phone technology as to where the patterns go, to where to put the profitable things versus the non, are you look like foot pattern? Like no one's walked on that corner in, you know what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah, we don't really have too much of that. I mean, we upgraded our guest wireless within the past year or so.
Mm-hmm.
So at least now, since it's newer gear, we have more things that we could tie into it. We really haven't dove into that yet because it's still so new. So
right.
I'm sure it's out there, but the main stuff that we have is the software that's tied into the gaming system, right?
Got it.
So when you sit down and then they scan your card and then you're betting $25 on a hand and you play, let's say, 100 hands in an hour, whatever the number is.
Right.
We're at least going to look at that data to see how hot that game is. And maybe if it's in the right place based off of the traffic that it's getting.
If I'm asking too many dumb questions, just slap my hand.
No, absolutely.
Because I now my brain's slowly, the mouse is starting to spin a little bit. Now, so talked a little bit about security, and I'm talking about behavior and we're deviancy. I don't know why I'm enthralled. Too many movies, I think.
Sure.
But I know behavioral analytics is different when you're looking at sim behavior, for a security thing, but how people act facial, are you still using human element to this person's tapping his thigh or this person's?
Yes and no. I mean, with what I can talk about, I mean, every casino has their own dedicated surveillance team. They for a obvious reason they're not tied into IT. They're their own entity. They're on their own network. Okay. Everything is secure within that bubble, but we do interact with them a lot.
Sure.
And I mean, what I always tell to the, novice, non-casino person where they're just like, hey, what does the surveillance room look like? Is it just is it just like, in Casino or in Ocean's 11? And
Sure.
it's like, well, kind of. I mean, yeah, there's a whole bunch of people looking at a whole bunch of screens and they're looking for everything. So there definitely still is a lot of human elements. But as the years go on, there's a lot more things that could possibly tie into your surveillance system, right? Depending on what type of surveillance system that you have, it may kind of depend on what type of plugins you have available, but you could look at betting patterns, or, there might be, there might be ways that then we could see what a player at a table is doing with their hand motions or their betting patterns. And you're just like, this looks a little funny. I'm going to take a look at it. So the majority of it is still human driven, but there are different pieces of software that could maybe give an alarm to somebody of saying hey, I think something's going on. I think you need to take a peek at this.
Interesting. I'm going to keep asking dumb questions. Like the Rain Man thing. That's the biggest joke. If someone's little brother is autistic, we're like, oh my God, we got to take this kid to the casino.
Oh yeah.
Is there and you're, the beautiful thing about this whole thing is I'm a non-gambler, so I'm asking things. I'm super naive to this whole thing. I'll put $5 on a sports bet for a parlay on a football Sunday. That's about the extent
you just
of
said
my.
A lot of good buzzwords, though.
Right. I want to get into sports betting too in a minute, but the card counting thing, all that, it's always been this weird misnomer. It's allowed, it's not allowed. Why wouldn't it be allowed? If you can think, if it's in your head, then what's the problem? You know what I mean? You hear a lot of stories. Is that verboten? Is it just unwritten rules?
We're like any other business. I mean, at any point we could certainly ban a guest because they're doing something that we see as, illegal in our eyes.
Yeah.
With doing this as long as I have, you've seen a little bit of everything. I definitely haven't seen it, firsthand of somebody counting cards, but I am sure it is out there. I am sure people are still doing it. But again, we have seasoned professionals that are in those positions, whether they're in the pits. We still have, pit bosses that are watching not only the dealers, but also watching the players. And then they always are talking to the surveillance team, and they have supervisors that are roaming the floor and just checking for things that are out of the ordinary. And the majority of those people are people that have been doing it for a long time, that have been doing it before we have a lot of these plugins that surveillance has available to them. So I am sure it's out there, but it's not it's not as prevalent as
I had to bring it up. I don't. Sorry.
No, it's
apologize.
okay.
I never thought in my lifetime I would see legal sports gambling. And when I saw you last weekend at the Grand Prix at an ESPN bet shirt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my, like I forgot that was part of the, the thing. Like I said, I'll pull up DraftKings.
Mm-hmm.
Has it changed the business at all? Like, there's guys that I know that are like, everyone used to play back in the day $5 on college basketball, like but 20 games, or you'd play the football cards your dad brought for $2.
Right.
Now it's a different beast. Like,
the easiest way I can explain it is we have our hardcore retail sports bettors, the people that come in and they sit in front of the kiosk and they're just scrolling through to see what's available. So then they can sit down and, like you said, have a 5-game parlay that might have baseball, football, whatever. And then they're going to grab a drink and sit down and watch the game. We still have that type of player, but now it's gotten to the point of what can we offer through ESPN Bet that gives that at home, if you're in a state that regulates it,
right,
that experience of in-game betting. So I'm watching the Lions game and now they're down by 21 points. And now all of a sudden, do I put that bet that they're going to come back? And at that time, that bet is probably going to have a really good payout. So that's the type of experience that we're really pushing right now.
So
because
I've seen that. And like during, not only that, like if you got a 4 out of 5 parlay going and then it'll pay out like 40%.
Right.
And it's all live.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, who's pushing those buttons? Because that's how like accurate those are, not only the lines, but like the fact that they're in real time.
Oh, and the
amount of work.
Yeah, and they're always updating. I mean,
Yeah.
they're all tied into a mothership again, whatever company you are, they're all tied into a mothership. But yet that's really the experience that we're pushing now through ESPN Bet is if I am a person who already is inside the ESPN ecosystem and I already look at all of my articles and I look at all of my sports on TV through SportsCenter and whatnot, and then now I can also tie it right into my ESPN Bet account.
Right.
And then I can take that knowledge from that game that's going on right now and look at all of the stats of everything. And I can see, oh, LeBron James has 20 points right now. Oh, let's look at that bet of, do you think you can make 30 points? And I'm already watching the game. Like I'm intrigued. I'm already watching this game and I want to see how it ends up. But now I got some money on it.
Wasn't there this story the guy put like $1 million on the Chargers, like to win, and it was like fourth quarter, and the other team came back like 32 points.
Oh, and that happens.
It was $1 million to win like 10 grand, and I'm looking at my buddy going, God, that seems like why would you do that?
There, you like I said, you see a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
there's always that type of gambler that just not only likes the rush, but also likes what could happen. And again, the experience that we are really pushing is that in-game experience of I'm already immersed into it. Now I want to take it to that next level because I'm already going to be watching it.
Right.
Or maybe I want to watch 2 games at once. Let's say you're at home and you have like a YouTube TV or something and you can watch 4 games at once. Now I want to bet on all these 4 games and I want to watch all of them. That is really what is driving a lot of people right now because they're so into sports that they're already watching. Now throw a little bit of money at it.
Yeah.
And what could the outcome be? It makes it that much more exciting. And
that's how we joke. The guys at the bar, it's either I go, is it fantasy football team or are you betting on them? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
There's no way you're.
Well, and that's funny because that's where a lot of this started. I always joke, I've been in the same fantasy baseball league since high school, and I'm still with the majority of the same guys. And like that's where it was back in the like early 2000s is people just going on to Yahoo Sports.
I'm on the same Yahoo league for 22 years, I think.
Right. Yeah. Same about with me, a little over 20 years. And that is where it was before of just like, oh, I am going into this fantasy land of I have this team of all these people who are clearly not on the same team. How are they going to end up? Now, fast forward 20, 25 years later, you have that same type of technology where people can pick all of these things and see what the outcome can be based on their knowledge of that sport and then see how it pays out. No pun intended.
I don't know if you're old enough. Do you remember the NTN trivia games at the dive bars?
Mm-hmm.
They used to have QB1. We used to watch. I never went to the bars on Monday except for during QB1, and you would basically predict. You'd get points for predicting each play.
Mm-hmm.
And like you always run middle was always the first play of the first game. And then it was, you had to be creative.
Right.
Third and long, obviously they're passing unless you're the Lions and they're running. But like, have they gotten to the point where you can bet on each play?
Oh, absolutely.
Are you kidding?
Not only is it like, the betting on like Super Bowl of just what is
the prop bets is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, what is the coin flip going to be? Or is
time? It was the over under on the
Or is Jared Goff going to get sacked on the first play and it'll pay out plus 10,000 or something because the odds of that happening are ridiculous.
Right.
All of those bets are available because again, people just keep on looking at all of these different things that could happen in this game. I'm going to put a bet on it, and all of those bets are available.
But now, so now here you have this like great casino. Now you have to build this giant sports bar.
Mhm.
Is that easily done? Or again, like you had to completely reshift and to make this like, you go to some of the sports books in Vegas and it's like these leather posh, like almost like cigar lounge feel.
Right.
Like, did you guys just say, all right, this is what, and you're monitoring like growing or shrinking it based on how many people are in there?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We have, at Greektown, we have two distinct spaces. One of them that is right next to the sports book. So if you want to place your bets and then you want to sit down and have a drink and kind of be in chairs like this, nice, comfy leather couch, whatnot, and watch the game, you can do that, get a beer because there's a bar behind you. We have one of those. And then we have a restaurant where you can also do the same thing. I want to actually sit down, have a meal, and there's a huge video wall with 12 different screens of whatever I want to watch. We have both of those available. So as time went on and sports betting evolved and you saw the draw, it's how can I take that person that might be at home and doing that in-game experience? How can I get them to the casino so we can offer them that same experience, but also offer them, good food, good drink prices. And, if they want to put, some coin into a slot machine, that's also great.
Did you see the Cosm that's being built up on Wall Street?
I have. And I've seen some of those, on my Facebook reels.
Yeah.
They are pretty neat.
It's insane. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's like a 80-foot tall IMAX theater, but it's an immersive, like you're sitting in a leather chair and you're getting buffalo wings and you're getting the bathrooms over around the corner. You know what I mean?
And the viewpoint is you are in the end zone.
Like front row end zone. The guys are
it does
30
look
feet
pretty
tall. Yeah. But I think the games are, it's like $80 to go to, you go once a year, I think.
Yeah.
But it looks, I can't wait for it to go.
Yeah, it does. It does look pretty cool. And even when we're looking at like our competition area, we're even looking at that. Not that I'm saying we're going to open up something like that, but we're even looking at, well, then how can we compete with that? What type of experience could we offer somebody that wants that same level of, sitting in front of a giant screen and eating and drinking and whatnot and getting that experience? So, we're looking into that too.
Fair. So you talked to, you're at MGM for 15 years and you started at the desk. And did you just get luck of the draw? Because a lot of us, that started at the help desk worked for a contracting house and worked for a bank or one of the autos. Was it just luck of the pull that you landed at a gaming company?
Again, no pun intended, but it was luck. I was in between jobs. I think we talked about it. I previously worked at ePrize, if you remember the name of that
of
company.
course.
Yeah,
I sold them their first DSL circuit.
Yeah,
at their Southfield office.
Yeah, I worked. What was that? Pleasant Ridge.
Yeah.
So, I worked there right out of college, and I started off as an intern, just doing help desk. And then eventually got hired in, unfortunately they had a pretty big layoff and I was part of that. And I was in between jobs, but this is way before wife and kids and current state. So I had disposable income that I could, piss away at the casino. So I was ironically at Greektown.
Right.
And I was playing poker, a huge avid poker player, still am now. And they were like, you hear all the time, you should just apply to be a dealer. The game, just apply. And so I applied, but then at the same time, I was like, I've heard casinos, they need IT.
Right.
So I saw that Greektown and MGM had an opening for a help desk tech level 1 and applied. And the very next day, MGM gave me a call.
Okay.
And so I started off working nights and weekends, working 4 10-hour shifts. And on 3 out of the 4 days, I was by myself. So starting off, I was like, I've never been in this industry before. I don't know anything about it. I know what a casino is, but I've never seen the IT side of it. So it was scary, but at the end, long term, it was great because, I would start at 4:00 in the afternoon, work until 2 a.m. So I would see the back of house people do their thing. They would throw in some tickets and then they would leave. And then my focus was the gaming floor. So, and I was by myself. So it's like, I got nothing to do. I'm going to go down on the gaming floor and just learn and get immersed in what's going on and learn the operation side of it. So then fast forward, I was able to get promoted a couple times, move to a lead. And then after 8 years, I kind of learned more and more and more about that industry. It's like, okay, what's next? Now I'm married. I think we had our first kid by then. And it was, okay, I have one manager and one director, and then there's infrastructure and project management people. Where do I go from here? Or do I leave the industry completely?
Sure.
So interviewed at a few places, and then out of nowhere, I heard that they were building a new casino in Maryland, right on the edge of Maryland, Virginia, and DC. And I was just like, I talked to the wife. Somehow she was okay with it. And it was like, let's see where this goes. They're building a new casino and they need an IT manager. And I would like to get into management. I think I can do it. I had been, practically a supervisor and training people at MGM and in Detroit, and, applied on a limb and got it. So we moved out there, moved the family, and I had 6 weeks until the property was open. So they had already been building this casino for well over a year. And now they got 6 weeks, and it's just like, oh, hey, Brad, yep, you need to hire a team. And you need to finish these 6 weeks out, and here's when we need to open. Go. And I actually lived at the casino in the hotel. So not only was it, waking up and then just walking downstairs and working, it was working practically 12 to 16-hour days.
How did you not gain 80 pounds eating room service all day?
Oh, and I didn't have the wife and the kids
Right.
there to help regulate that intake. So yeah, it was a lot of late night takeout or going out to a bar and just getting something and then crashing in the hotel. And then, oh my God, I get a call and it's 2:00 in the morning and they need to help finish this area of the casino or get the network up over here and have to run. So it was crazy, but it was a great experience of my first property opening.
Sure.
I get to see the construction side of it, but I also get to help build a team and do both of those aspects. So I was there for about 3 years, and then they were opening more properties on the east side, and one in Massachusetts. They acquired a property in New Jersey, and there's like, well, we got Brad on the East Coast. Let's just, if he's interested, we can farm him out and he can just do some projects, because it's an easy, instead of sending somebody from corporate, MGM was very heavy corporate driven for all of their corporate employees.
Right.
So they would just ship me out and I would do a quick project over here, help out with this property over here. And I loved it. I loved that project management side of it, of you now have to do this go live and you have to, spin up the infrastructure on this side. You got to tie it into a database and you have to train everybody and then go live and then boom, you're done. And now move on to the next. So I did that for a few years, and corporate eventually, kind of saw my name that I was getting out there and I was more interested. They were just like, do you have an interest in coming to corporate in Las Vegas? And my wife said, absolutely not. If we're going anywhere, we're going home.
Yeah.
And, once you see
That was tough to say no to.
Oh yeah. Once you
just
see
for a little bit.
Yeah. And by that time we already had 2 kids, and then it's just like, but look at the cost of living. Cause again, we were living in Virginia,
right,
where everything was crazy expensive and we were just, pissing away money. And it was like, well, let's, be in this beautiful Las Vegas area with mountains and sun. And I promised the kids I'll get them a pool. Like, let's just try it. It won't be forever. So then we moved out there.
Okay.
And that was in 2019. I think everyone knows what happened around that time. I was over all of corporate ITSM. So I kind of stepped away of property stuff, stepped into a corporate role, but I got to bring a lot of that property incident management type of knowledge, because I knew all the products at the properties. So I did that for a little while, and then boom, COVID happens. And then it's just like, okay, MGM went from 77,000 employees worldwide to 7,000 employees.
Did it really?
It did. So
was it temp or was it you're done?
Well, I mean, I think everyone kind of remembers. No one knew what was going on.
No,
imagine
none
yourself,
of us knew.
Imagine yourself in Las Vegas, and this actually happened. Imagine yourself in Las Vegas, and things are starting to happen. And we're just like everyone else trying to figure out, how do we get people to work from home? How do we acquire product?
Down, though.
That's what I mean, is we had a meeting with our CIO, and he was just like, hey, there's this thing called social distancing. And like, no one knew what that was. And then they're just like, yeah. And there's rumors that we're going to shut down all of the casinos. And we're just like, they can do that? Like, there's no way. They've never done anything like that. And then what do you know? It happened. So we were down to a skeleton crew, just like the majority of the other companies. And then we were just like, okay, what do we do now? We don't have all of my ITSM operations, unfortunately, had to be furloughed. And then, luckily I was kept. I was very fortunate, but then it's just like, okay, what am I going to do now? Because there's no casino operating. Well, we use that time, like I'm sure a lot of other companies did, to do a lot of your upgrades.
Yeah.
Who cares about downtime? There's no one playing slot machines, so we can upgrade all of the network gear that we've probably been wanting to, upgrade for the past 5 or 10 years. So we were doing all of our Cisco upgrades at every single MGM property everywhere. And then all of that has to go through change management still. Yeah. You still have to have people that can implement it. So they shifted me to that, of the change management side of it, of just documenting everything, but also helping with implementing it. So over the course of COVID, I helped with closing and reopening every single MGM property in their portfolio.
But if restaurants, they allowed them to stay open as long as you had your mask on.
Some, but not
sitting.
Not at the casinos, though. Every casino was shut down. And we were very, very regulated in the sense of Nevada guidelines of, who you could have at the casino, because it was mandated to be closed because of social distancing. And I mean, how do
contractors were okay.
Yeah. And, on-site people that are still doing IT stuff, again, as long as you're social distancing and you're checking with all the protocols and you got your mask, we could still do that. So we used all that time to upgrade everything.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of experience with that. And then thankfully, eventually they reopened all their properties. And I was on that team because I had already had experience with opening some properties. So in essence, every 2 weeks, we opened at least one property. And then we would move on to the next, move on to the next, move on to the next. And even without traveling, I helped reopen all of the regional properties. Ironically, MGM Grand Detroit, I helped reopen up that. So being on a team remotely and not being able to be there and work with the 5 contractors that they're able to have at that time, I got to learn that aspect of operations of, I got to do, in essence, a property opening of a property that, closed 3 months ago. Well, so it was very.
How many people work at each of those properties, like to close a property, then to reopen a property? Is it
hundreds.
25, 30,000 people at a property?
It's not that many. You're saying employees?
Total employees at a Vegas casino.
It could very easily be,
24 hours,
2 to 10,000, depending on which property.
Okay. But to lay those people off, then to bring them back.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's an act of God.
Absolutely. And then think of I also need to re-onboard 5,000 people.
Yeah.
What are all the different things I need to do with that? So I had to step away of the day-to-day operations, break fix stuff, and then figure out, how do I retrain all these people? Or some of these people might be new and I need to get them all of their gear and I need to get them all of their access and make sure everything is still, documented for SOX and whatnot. So it was crazy. And, meanwhile, we had our third kid during COVID. So I got that to deal with at home. So it was nuts, but it was also just the theme of what I'm talking about is I kept on getting curious about different things, regardless if I jumped into it myself or if I was pretty much just forced into it like COVID. Right. I got to be able to continuously do different aspects of casino, but it was operations, it was back-end infrastructure, it was construction and property openings, or ironically property closures. So I got to see so many different things of it. And Vegas was a whirlwind, but it was also something I'll never be able to replicate. And I'm sure everyone has these stories of you never think of what your next opportunity might be, because I got promoted to a corporate director with MGM Resorts. They're a huge company. Yeah. I thought I got it made.
Sure.
And ran into a buddy of mine, an old boss at one of our big gaming conferences, and my wife's name is Katie, and he was like, "Hey, is Katie still bitching to get back home to Michigan?" And I'm just like, "Well, yeah, of course she is, but I just got this promotion. Like, we don't kind of really have a timeline." And he's just like, "You should talk to a buddy of mine. He's over at Greektown." And I'm like, Greektown, as in like Detroit, Michigan, where I'm from.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, they need a property director to oversee, IT operations. Are you interested? It's like, well, yeah, of course.
Right.
So it's just, it's funny how the world works when you don't really know what you're going to be focusing on. Like, I got my degree from Central in IT, and I specialized in networking because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was just like, I like computers. So I had no idea. And, fast forward, I got to just see all these different things that were put in front of me and help build teams and help lead people and help promote people, help people see all the different things that I saw. It's been such a fun ride.
I was going to say, over everyone that I've talked to over the last, 12 years of doing the show, like, I don't want to say you've seen the most because everybody's seen some stuff in this business.
Oh, absolutely.
But you just think about the depth and the breadth of just IT in general, like, other than probably you sitting down and coding, which I'm sure you've probably done at one point or another.
It's been a minute, but yeah.
You probably have seen more than just literally anyone I've ever spoken to in terms of all of it. Like, just all, like again, the hospitality side, the data center side.
Yeah, it's really humbling. And, where I've kind of moved on to now, again, that part of the story, we obviously we moved back home. I took the job, and the wife, packed her stuff the moment that I told her we were coming back home. All of our family is here. So, now I've kind of shifted to how can I keep the day-to-day stuff with my management team intact, but how can I continue to now mentor people? And how can I take what I went through and show people what are the different things? If you're willing to get curious and you're willing to kind of learn something new, this is the line of work in gaming operations, or really just operations in general. It doesn't have to be gaming.
Right.
You'll get to see everything. Like, even if you just work for a hotel management company, or if you work for like a big entertainment company or an amusement park company, like things like that, the opportunities are endless. It's not just tech. It's not just help desk. It's everything, because that casino, we never close. We're open 24/7, 365. And I've worked Christmas morning at 7:00 in the morning, and I've worked, midnights before. I've done it all, but it
doesn't close, does it?
No.
I was thinking like one day to like deep clean. It doesn't close.
No,
yeah.
I mean, minus COVID, obviously we close then,
right?
But now, no, we never close. We are always open. Again, coming back to that story about interviewing people, it's just like, do you have a problem with shift work? We say, oh no, of course not. It's like, all right, are you okay with working any day of the year, no matter if it's Christmas morning or if it's Thanksgiving or whatever? That we are always open.
Still smoke inside?
So after COVID, a lot of those rules changed, and a lot of the policies kind of fell onto the operator and what they wanted to do. So all three casinos kind of have different spaces and different rules. So at Greektown, there are specific sections of the casino where you can smoke.
Okay.
So like all of one area you can smoke in, but on the lower level you can't. Or obviously anywhere where there's food you can't. So we do have some sections where you can, or at MGM, they have specific rooms, like gaming rooms, almost like a old school, like a airport smoking area where it just opens, and then there's slot machines in there or table games in there. So they have smoking areas.
I'm one of the weird ones that never smoked. I've had cigarettes, obviously, but I never smoked on the regular. But God, do I love a smoky bar. There was just some weird charm to it.
Oh yeah, I used to smoke for, I think it was around 10 years. I don't anymore, and I haven't for a while, but it's the same type of thing. It's just, you enjoy that smell, but at the same time it can get overpowering. And it is kind of nice now that there's those options that, we get complaints from people that say it's too smoky, and we get complaints from people that saying you don't have enough options for a smoker. So we try and keep a balance of it, where we have areas where people can, or if they need to go outside to have a smoke, then they can do that.
That's fair. So let's say aspirationally, I'm in level 1 help desk, and God, what you just said, you hit every nail. That how hard is it to get in these days? Is there crazy waiting lists? Is it you got to jump through major hoops to get in the ground floor, or is it, you guys need people?
At this moment, we don't have any openings. And when we do, we definitely get a lot of applicants. Yeah. But again, we get applicants that are just looking for a job, and then we get applicants that are you can tell really quick. And I've been doing this long enough and interviewing people long enough that I can tell pretty quickly of somebody who is probably going to be a good fit. Maybe they don't have a lot of level 1 knowledge, but they have that drive where they just want to dive in and learn everything. That's the ideal person. So coming back to your question, we don't have that many openings with being a team of only, including myself, 11 people.
Yeah.
I only have 3 level 1 techs, and then I have level 2, level 3, and level 4 and management. So it's not that big of a team. But yeah, when we have openings, there's definitely people that really are interested in the industry. And that's what I keep on telling them is you will get as much out of this as you want to get. I was the other day, we had our new hire orientation for the property, and we had bartenders, we had people that worked in food and beverage, we had people who were housekeepers, we had a whole bunch of different flavors of jobs of new hires. And I came in and I spoke, and that's exactly what I said. I was like, if you hear any advice from anybody, take it from me, that this job is not for everybody. You will get pushed very, very hard, but the more that you dive in and you, like I keep on saying, that you want to be curious and learn something new, those opportunities are out there. Even if you're just a bar back, if one day it's a little slow and you want to cross train with somebody else in a different department, and then 6 months down the road, they have an opening, you're going to probably be looked at before somebody from the outside with no experience. So there's so many different aspects to the day-to-day operations just outside of IT. Did
you have a killer? I ran a team for a year. Out of the 25 years I've been in sales, I ran a team for 1 year. I wanted to see how the other side lived. And did you ever have any killer interview questions? Like to know? I had one that was like, it told me exactly who you were. Mm-hmm. There was never a wrong answer to it.
What was that?
Last outage, last time something like shit the bed. What did you do? And there's 3 answers to that. This was in my experience. It was, I did everything myself and I got it up in an hour. Mm-hmm. There was, I called a dream team and I assembled the best people ever I could to get it done in the most fastest way possible. Or I called Microsoft. And there was never a wrong answer. Like I was never mad you couldn't answer that question wrong. I just want to know who the hell you are.
Right. And I purposely in my interviews ask vague, short questions for the same type of thing, as I kind of want to see how you're going to peel that onion. Yeah. So I usually, and now I'm probably telling one of the secrets, is in my level 1 interviews, I try to get to their experience, and then out of nowhere, I'll just say, hey, let's say that today's your first day and you just got a call and it's from the bar restaurant and they said, all of my cash registers are down. What do you do? And then I just sit back. And some people are just like, oh, I've never worked with cash registers. I don't know. But then you get those curious people, and there's not many of them there that are just like, well, how many cash registers do you have in the entire property? Are they all the same? Are they all tied into the same server? Or is this just one unit, or is this all of the units? So it's all about, I want to see people that are going to ask me questions to the question that I ask them.
Yeah.
Because then that keeps that conversation going, and you can see that troubleshooting mindset. And that's the ideal person that I like to hire for help desk roles. Is you can have little or you can have a ton of help desk experience, but it all comes down to troubleshooting. And you can be somebody that has 30 years of experience, but you throw a softball at them like that, and they just go, oh, I would have to ask my manager. It's just like, no, it's just like, come on. Even if you say, I'll Google it, at least that's something.
At least it's something. So speaking of that, one of my favorite, I don't know, it wasn't a W because I didn't get the job, but I interviewed at Google about 6 years ago. And he basically curveball, and he just says, your best friend just called you. He owns a restaurant. It's not doing too well, and he needs your help. What are you doing?
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I think he wanted to know. And I said, I've watched enough Bar Rescue where I just sat there and I said, well, you have revenue and you have cost. And I said, I'm going to Google what your food cost should be, what your rent cost and what your labor cost should be, and what your baseline should be. And then I'm going to also look at revenue. You have 4 times you can make money: lunch, happy hour, dinner, late night. And now I'm going to look at, pie chart that out and find out where, if you're lacking, I was a 20-minute answer.
Right.
But I'm like, it made you think about things. Like you could have just said like, well, let me look at the place. You know what I mean? But like, I think again, like the ones I didn't like were, hey Brad, how many balloons could you fit in this room?
Oh yeah. I had a boss one time and I was sitting in the interview with him and he was asking a level 1 technician. He just said, can you close your eyes for me? And he really wanted the person to close their eyes. And I'm just like, where is this going? Because this was not in my packet of questions.
Right.
And he was just like, hey Bob, close your eyes. Tell me how to tie a shoe. And that's where he left it. And then I was just like, what is going on here? And it's like, eventually I started to understand where he was going. Like I would never ask that question, but it's kind of similar to the type of way that I ask questions of, he wants people to be like, well, what kind of shoe is it? Does it have laces, or is it this type of shoe? Is it this type of shoe? So I kind of took from that of just like, that was really weird. But at the same time, I kind of took a little bit of that style of just like, okay, I kind of see what you're doing. You're asking vague questions on purpose.
And everyone's going to assume that you're taking laces and you cross the laces. And
right.
The way how you framed it was like, I wouldn't think like that, because that's why, I'm not in tech and I'm in sales, or you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it was really out there, but I never used that tactic in my interviews, but I at least respected where he was coming from. Of he wanted to see if I'm going to give someone something completely random that's not even an IT question and see what they say.
Yeah.
Because you could have somebody that's just like, what do you mean? Like, what type of question is that? Or you get somebody that just has a conversation
Thinks
with
it through.
Sure. Ironically, same story in my interview, my first interview with MGM. So this is 20 years ago. There was multiple people there in management, and there was one guy who said nothing. And I was like the whole time looking at him, and a couple other people were asking the majority of the questions. I was just like, who the hell is this guy? And it's like, he's just a director. And like, why isn't he asking me any questions? And then he was just like, hey, Brad, my name's Jeff. I got one question for you. Do you drive a stick? And I was like, no. And he was like, do you know how to? And I was like, no. And he was like, okay, I'm all done. And then he started taking notes. He was just like drawing pictures. And I was just like, what just happened? But it was,
wow.
I look back and it was actually really funny. He was just like, yeah, I was just messing with you. But again, it's those type of questions just to see like, how are you going to take that type of question? And, I kind of fast forward it to, I tell my level 1 techs, when you get a call, it may not always be as easy as my name's Brad and my password needs to be reset. It's going to be something that is totally off the wall that you may not have the answer to. How are you going to answer that question? Sometimes I throw that in interviews where I'll think of the most random piece of software that we have. And I'll just say like, I just called and I said that I needed to install software X. How do you install it? And they would just be like, I have no idea what that is.
I take the CD-ROM out of the case and I put it in the tray.
Or just like, I would need to Google it, or I would need to do this. So it's all about that conversation. That's how I can say, no matter if you're in the casino business or any other type of business, if you're trying to find good talent, you want to find that talent that can truly troubleshoot and have a conversation. And then,
unless it's sell me this pen,
yeah,
and then I'm walking.
Oh
out.
yeah, I definitely don't.
We have an unwritten pact between the sales community that if anyone ever asks us that, we're getting up and walking out.
Right.
Just because that's ridiculous,
Oh yeah.
Or what did I hear someone say once? If you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be?
Yeah. A blind guy walks in to buy a car. How do you sell it to him? And it's just like, what?
Don't.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sir, you're in the wrong store.
Right.
Brad, I can't thank you enough for coming out here. Thank you for putting up with my dumb questions.
Hey, absolutely. Hopefully I'll see you at the casino.
No, absolutely. My appetite has been kind of relieved for now. Like I said, once I started thinking about like what goes into IT, like my brain started frying. So I'm glad you came here to kind of put most of it to bed. So
yeah, absolutely.
Don't find you on LinkedIn or find you on LinkedIn. Either way.
I'm on LinkedIn.
All right, awesome. Brad Mitchell, Greektown Casino. Thanks again for the time. We're going to wrap things up for this episode of the IT and the D Show. On behalf of Bob and Randy, do us all a favor. Drink up your drinks, get your phone numbers. You don't got to go home. You just got to get the hell out of here. See you next week. Drive careful. Beat it.
If you could be any vegetable in the world, which vegetable would you be?
Squash. Is that going to be a drop?